What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the 3B podcast, the Built Baseball Boys, with myself, Dominic Rossetto, and co-hosts Marvin Dickens, back from vacation. A little tanner, I see, huh?
Yeah, definitely got a little bit of sun and had a phenomenal time. Sorry I wasn't on last week, but enjoyed myself.
Good. That's what we like to hear. If you're going to miss, the requirement is that you have fun doing the other thing you have to do, right?
Yeah, we did that. So mission complete.
Do you want to name drop the famous person that you were rubbing elbows with while you're on vacation?
There was no rubbing elbows. He did not want to be bothered at all. Kevin Hart had dinner beside us at a restaurant one night, which was kind of cool.
You asked him for the tab and said, "Hey, the 3B podcast will be taking care of that for you, Kevin."
Yeah, right. No, they're drinking good wine and having a really good time with his family. He walks in and he literally has like this sweatsuit, shorts, and like short sleeve shirt with a hoodie on, and like he sits down in the corner, puts his hoodie on. The waitress comes over and she's like, "Oh my God." And he's like, "Hey, it's really nice to meet you. Like, just be cool. I'm trying to be private with my family." And when we were leaving, they were leaving, and like he threw his hoodie on and like walked away. He didn't want to be bothered, but it was kind of cool.
Nice. Is he as short in person as he looks, when he's next to all these like 6-something foot stars?
Yeah, so you know me, I'm not a tall guy. I'm 5'7" on a good day with a new pair of shoes on. He's not a big dude, that's for sure. I was significantly taller than him, but he's fit, man. I'll give him that. He's a thick guy.
Yeah, he definitely does look fit. He's got all those things where he's done like the cold tub interviews or whatever.
Yeah.
Those were cool. Funny guy, obviously. So it was the whole table like cracking up, or was this like a real low key?
No, they were having a good time. It was like him and his wife and a couple of his kids, and I don't know if it was a nanny or his mom or maybe his mother-in-law, not sure, and then a bodyguard.
Yeah.
But no, they were over there laughing. They were having a good time.
You were looking at the bodyguard like, I could take you, man. I could.
No, that was a massive human being.
Yeah, he hires the biggest guy to make up for his size, right? Like, just
that dude was like a NFL guy. Defensive lineman. He was like 6'3", 250. He's like, nah.
That's awesome, man. Well, I am glad you and the family had fun on vacation. Now we're going to get back into the business, and we'll start off by rounding the bases. Your favorite little ting of the bat there. I haven't changed that like you've asked. I can't find anything great with that one. So we'll see if I can someday replace that audio with something a little bit better and not so smallish. I don't know. It just seems like you want to hear that ting and then like the crowd roar, and that one doesn't exist on the audio files I have to choose from. So
we can find something better. We'll make it right.
Yeah, we'll work towards that for sure. Chad Dickens saying, "What is up, my guys?" Hey, Marv, he's giving us a hard time. Let's get into this. First of all, leave this comment up from Chad real quick because we're calling this one "Staying Perfect." Coastal Carolina, man, they're just rolling through the conference schedule so far. So that was just the thing that stuck out the most probably to me from this past weekend. But we've got some. Let's jump over to. No, it was the picks that I was looking at here first. Let's go full screen here because Chad's giving us a hard time and saying you gotta stop picking the sweep for Southern Miss, and he was right. We shouldn't have picked it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously going into it, I didn't think App could win one. They've been in a lot of close games with good teams like Coastal and never could win one, and they had an opportunity on Friday. That didn't work out, and then they finally did it on Saturday. So sorry, dude. I picked with my heart, or excuse me, my head, not my heart. But obviously that's the way I thought it was going to go.
You know how close I was to like totally flipping the script and saying App was going to take this one 2-1 and have that like Marshall style upset of Coastal from the last season. Obviously those two teams just matched up this week as well. I gotta shout out somebody. And I honestly, I forget the person exactly, but it's one of those Facebook accounts where they share the husband's and wife first name and then the last name. You got to love those. This guy the last 2 weeks has been completely upset with us for not picking Coastal in a sweep across the board. So Maroon and Gold Enjoyer did win the week. He did pick the sweep, so congratulations to him on both of those. He had a great week. He had a weekend that rivaled yours from last week, Marv, when Marv, you won 5 of 7 series.
Sometimes you get lucky, man. Listen, Marshall was playing good baseball coming into this week. That's the only reason I didn't pick the sweep. But Coastal's on fire right now. They, we had talked about Coastal. We knew the injuries they had, to their starting rotation, and they kind of hit a rough patch. I mean, obviously you see the record. They didn't lose a ton of games. They lost some games that people thought that they shouldn't have lost. And I remember us being on a podcast saying, man, they recruit well, right? Like, some of these guys that are getting opportunities, once they figure it out, they're going to be just fine. And then once they get those guys back, they'll be just fine. Well, they haven't got those guys back yet, but the young dudes, they're throwing really well right now. And I think the offense has come along as well. Coastal's always been the team that we're just going to out-pitch you and we're going to play situational baseball, but they're hitting the ball really well right now. And the pitching's come a long way. So they I guess you'll have to wait to the reveal of the new power rankings this week, but
yeah,
I think there might be a new team on top.
There might be. I think it was close this past weekend. And we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, Marshall was coming in second place in the conference, only one loss. It was that last game of the last weekend, so they were doing pretty well. We've got a great pitching staff, as we've known, as we've seen. Coastal. And to TJ's point from last week, his point is, hey, look a little bit closer at this Coastal team. They're getting the results, but sometimes they're kind of getting out of bad spots with a little bit of luck, and it could catch them at some point. And so far, it has not caught them. But he had some concerns, saying, sometimes when they get back to their game, it's okay, but in the beginning of some of these games, they're kind of catching themselves, getting behind, or whatever it may be. Obviously, the getting behind up against App State about 3 times, that wasn't great, but they did overcome and got it right in the end. I think that's why all of us picked Marshall to take at least one. And I don't think that was a bad pick. And for people who think Seth's crazy or silly for what he's done, listen, he was the only one to correctly pick Marshall to win the series last year. 2-1. That's where he lovingly got the nickname Mayor of Huntington from us. I think Marv was responsible for picking that out, or someone online did. Or, I don't know. Do you remember? Was it you who said it, Marv?
I don't know, but it, he had to pick it that way. Like you said, historically, he picked it last year and he got it right. Plus, when he runs for re-election, he needs the people on his side. So there was some strategery around his picks.
Exactly. So people think he's crazy or nuts. Yeah, pay a little bit closer. Hey, watch and listen to a little bit more 3B, and you'll be up to speed on that. So that was definitely that one. I picked Texas State to sweep. I know that was kind of a high bar because Georgia State, quite frankly, has had some games, right? Beat Georgia Tech earlier this year, but they've lost some kind of weird games and kind of on the downturn. So I took the chance. I got lucky. I think, as soon as I see everybody else go 2-1, I'm like, man,
probably
if everybody gets that one and I get it wrong, that's going to set me behind. I think the one, though, that was most shocking was Troy and Georgia Southern. No one in their right mind picked Georgia Southern, and I think that was the right thing, before the weekend started.
I think they were the bottom of everybody's power rankings, the worst team in the league.
Yep. And now Troy's going to be creeping to that spot a little bit closer. I mean, man, they just avoided the sweep by getting that victory on Sunday. That was the biggest shock. There's nothing that's even ULM, I picked, them to get swept by the Cajuns, which is obviously wrong. ULM actually had 2-0 series standings before Cajuns took the last game in that one too. So those 2 series, definitely the bigger surprises. I still think Georgia Southern taking out Troy, obviously winning those 2 first games, so it's already that they've clinched the series, was the bigger surprise to me.
That's the shock of the weekend. I mean, honestly, Georgia Southern was 7-18 coming into the game, 1-4 in conference, or 1-5 in conference. Like I said, the worst team on everybody's power rankings. And if you think back to the power rankings preseason, right? Like Troy came in with a lot of expectations. They got, a guy that's widely considered to be a first round draft pick on their roster. And currently they sit at 12-16 overall. No shock talk radio here, right? You're not saying, oh, they're just really bad, but I think it's very fair to say that they are underperforming considering the expectations they had coming into the season, and losing a series to the worst team in the league is not going to make anything better.
No, definitely not. I just, you were waiting for Troy to get that right, you know, and I think Maroon and Gold and Joy, I was like, man, he could be right? He's taking the sweep for Troy. Man, I thought about it, and man, no, it doesn't matter. All of us were wrong about that. This guy's jumping and saying App State is bad, and then he's spelling this out for us. 0-3 is worse than 3-0. Yes, that is a factual statement. But that one luckily did not happen for App State. They avoided the sweep against Southern Miss. In fact,
could have won the series. I mean, they had Friday night's game gift wrap for them, and once again, the bullpen just lets them down. Yeah.
Unfortunate to not get out of that one, but Ben James watching the Wolves, the Red Wolves, the Lady Red Wolves, that is, in the WNIT as they play Cleveland State in Jonesboro with the potential rematch. A-State and Marshall in what they call the Fab Four. Is that what they call it in the WNIT? I know apparently the NIT and WNIT cannot call like the Elite Eight and the Final Four. Like they can't use those terms. Either they can't or they won't, so that they separate themselves. I'm not sure.
Is the NIT tournament not owned by the NCAA? Is it a separate entity?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. It's all a mess. I know that.
It's being polite.
Yeah, exactly. That is the polite way to put it. He's also saying Friday night for A-State versus JMU, Mike Silva took out 6 starters to come back from 8-2 down to win 11-9. Yeah, that game is definitely one we're going to talk about because if you hear that and you see that and you're thinking there's no way they could rebound from this, and let's jump over to the power rankings while we have that discussion. Your team's not getting it done. You take out the guys who are supposed to be the best, right? Your starters, the guys who play a little bit more than everybody else, and you say, hey, take a seat. You're not getting it done. You almost commit, I guess. Marv, you can speak on this. You're a coach. You almost commit, like say, hey, guys, like let's just wipe this from our memory. Let's give these other guys playtime and move on. But what actually happened is those guys came in and grinded and then flipped the script and got the victory and inspired the team to come out on top in the weekend in total against a scrappy James Madison team. But I don't know. Is that something philosophy-wise you use as a coach? Am I reading too much into that and they just got lucky with this? What are your thoughts on that?
Obviously, the roster size that I have compared to what they have, you can't do that, what we do. But sometimes do you put different people in different spots just to see what happens or to make the guys that have those spots like, holy shit, I got to go earn this again? Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, just
and also sometimes it could be matchup wise, right? Like you see something,
True.
You're like, like for our team, like we have when we play 2 games on Saturday, we have our game 1 and our game 2 starter, right? But if the game 2 starter is better suited for game 1, or if one of our Sunday guys, we know he could overmatch it, like we'll just go ahead and switch it up and say, hey, stylistically, we think this is a better matchup for us. This is not what we typically do. We're just going to do it anyway. See what happens.
Yeah, I like it because, I mean, I guess in the long look of the season too, like you got to change stuff up just to keep everybody on their toes a little bit, right? Like,
hey, if it's rolling, you leave it like it is, right?
Well, that's true, yes, but obviously in this case, it was not rolling. It was the opposite.
But hey, it got the desired result.
It did, and that's why. Not the only single reason, but Silva was looked at as a great hire, and we all heard about it last year, and we all heard A-State's coming. Red Wolves are getting better. They're going to be a team to compete. They're going to be getting towards the top of this conference. And we're like, okay, maybe too early. Well, it looks like that time is now, right?
Definitely turned the corner. I mean, they're 18-9 on the season right now. I mean, tied for 3rd right now in conference. So
Yeah.
They're probably still maybe a season away from competing for a regional berth or top of the conference, but their trajectory is definitely looking good.
Yeah, it is. It is. David Gardecki saying Southern Miss batting 268 gets 10 run ruled by in-state rival Mississippi State, and then loses one to
Yeah.
13-13 App State, jumps 3 spots in the rankings to
I
number
was
8.
I was just looking at that and I was trying to figure out like, oh no, they beat the mighty App State, so they jumped up. I'm trying to figure out who ahead of them screwed up really bad. And Arkansas and Auburn, who were 4 and 5, dropped significantly down to 17 and 18. And then you've got Virginia moved back 1 spot, Oklahoma moved back 3 spots. But yeah, that one baffles me a little bit.
Baffles me, but at the same time, and it's indirect, of course, but they're rewarding Southern Miss for beating App State, and you have to take that into consideration. They're in some regard, if they're paying close enough attention, it does make sense, right? This is an App State team that could have and challenged Coastal 3 straight games. When you look back and you just look at maybe even the scoreboard, but certainly just the series outcome of a sweep, you're like, okay, Coastal did what they're supposed to do. Yeah, but look closer at the game and see how competitive that thing was the whole time, where Coastal had to battle in the 8th and 9th inning of every single one of those games just to get the victory. Southern Miss was kind of in some of those scenarios too. So it's in one way, it's a good thing, right? Obviously not for App fans, but you got to win against Southern Miss, which isn't easy to do, especially on the road. But yeah, I mean, our teams are moving up by beating people in conference and getting rewarded for thus making it, again, even more apparent that this conference isn't some lowly mid-major, right?
Well, here's the flip side of that, though, right? Coastal Carolina is on a 7-game win streak, sweep a conference series, win your midweek, sweep another conference series against what I think is a pretty good Marshall team. They move up 1 spot.
True.
Yeah, Southern Miss goes 2-2 on the week and moves up 3.
Yeah, it's got to be. Some of that is probably RPI reward for playing Mississippi State.
I'm pretty sure Southern Miss is still let me check out the RPI. They were number 1. No, they've dropped down significantly, it looks like. They were the number 1. They're number 9 RPI.
Okay, so they're still really high up there. So that
Coastal Carolina 16, though. So, yeah, you go 2-2 and jump 3 spots. The other team goes 4-0 and moves up 1. Your RPIs are pretty darn similar. It just doesn't make sense. That's why we have a regional and super regional and playoff system.
Yeah, exactly. And again, recency bias leads you to believe something should have happened a little bit, and we do take those into account for these power rankings. But you also have to look at the big picture. There's a couple people that are really upset Coastal's not number 1 this past week. Again, this is done before the weekend series. I think, like you were saying, we're probably looking at a switch or very, very close. I personally had Coastal at 1 last week because I had enough of the recency bias and saying, hey, they're now getting it done, and they're proving they're getting it done even when they don't have full strength. So, yeah.
I had a mental debate. I mean, shocker, I'm going to flip them this week. Coastal's earned it. They're the best team in the conference right now. 9-0. They have not lost a conference game yet.
Yeah. This Canes are cool. Had Coastal at 2 still, just to throw a little salt in the wound. But yeah, I mean, we had a couple of teams that kind of looked the part, I think, from this thing. I think there was a number of people, Warhawk fans specifically, very upset that ULM was down at 8.
Yeah, that's after the weekend. That's very understandable. And Warhawk fans, just know that you will not be on the right side of my rankings next week.
No, definitely not on the right side of my rankings either. We maybe overvalued the Cajuns and certainly undervalued the Warhawks. Yeah, I think, again, though, sometimes when you see certain games won, you reward them. And if you see certain games lost, they're bad losses, right? I mean, I think quite a few of the teams in the conference have some good wins mixed with some bad losses. And it's like, what do you do? I mean, I think all the way from like 5 to 10 is kind of that jumbled spot where you could jumble up all those teams, reorder them, and I'm not going to be really upset about it, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
I think you could really take. I think you could narrow it down a little bit to like 5 through 8, because I think you can't count Troy in there just yet. There's a lot of season left, but right now, once again, I mean, they got a losing record. They're 12-16 on the season, and then the top 3 right now is the top 3. It's going to be really hard to unseed those top 3. Coastal's on a 7-game win streak, undefeated in conference. Texas State's on a 7-game win streak, 6-3 in conference. But I think ULM and Arkansas State have a really good argument to be like, hey, we're next in line. Like, one of those guys slips up and we keep winning, you might have to reshuffle that deck.
Got a name for you too.
Let's do it.
South Alabama is another one to watch out for. They did slip up once against ODU. That's another team, though, I think you can be looking at.
I agree with that. They're 18-10 on the season, 5-4 conference, same conference record as Arkansas State, same amount of wins as Arkansas State. They're definitely right there. And you could look at ULM and say, well, they're 16-3, right? But man, they're 6-3 in conference. They've been playing really, really well. They had a tough out of conference schedule. So the left side of that board, wherever it ends up, like the top 7 teams in this conference are super strong.
Yes, absolutely agree with that. And hey, look. Our worst ranked team right now at Georgia Southern did take out Clemson earlier this year. So
yeah, which is just
no, it is. It's definitely nuts. It definitely doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, here are the updated standings as we sit on Monday, March 30th.
You could have just had this up the last time. That way I didn't have to keep looking at my phone to get all the stats.
Sorry. Well, and I will say this. I have not done this. I just went by the website for Sunbelt. As far as tiebreakers are concerned, I haven't sorted out exactly who would gain what. And probably it's too early. Most of these teams that are tied probably haven't quite played each other, or if it's multiple tiebreakers, as we saw with basketball, if it's the same, it's a freaking jumbled mess. So I've just done what the conference has done as far as order is concerned. But again, Coastal is the reason we said Staying Perfect was the name of this episode, because they are a perfect 9-0. As you said, though, they're matching Texas State with a seven-game win streak, right?
Yeah.
And then ULM sitting up there tied with Texas State in the standings, 6-3. Overall record, see, this is where the power rankings are a little weird, or getting them to the top 25. They're just 16-13 overall on the season.
Yeah.
So that's a tough part, right?
It is. I mean, they were 10-10 coming into conference. But hey, this conference is good enough where you keep winning, like you could easily climb out of a hole per se.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I want you to note something. For those watching, you can see it, but for those listening, Georgia Southern has the worst record in this conference at 9-19 overall.
Yep.
But they are sitting tied with 3 other teams with the 3-6 conference record, and Georgia State is the only team in the conference who's only won 2 games so far. They're not quite up there with 3 wins, but they do have a better record at 13-16 overall. Still a losing record, so not great. But Georgia Southern, right? They beat Clemson coming up a little world. They're not last. How about that?
There you go.
Also, want to show you something. I left these standings up from last week to show you a very simple thing about just how much a sweep can swing your spot in the standings. So take a look at number 2 and number 7, Texas State and Marshall. And look where they were last week. Now, again, a lot of teams are jumbled up, and the tiebreakers aren't necessarily taken into consideration here. But Marshall was 2 before being swept by Coastal, and Texas State was down there at 7 before sweeping this weekend. So, again, sweeps are hard to come by, but they can really lift you in the standings and make this look.
Especially this early into it, right?
True.
It's kind of like a batting average. When you haven't had a lot of at-bats, a couple good hits or, a couple hits or a couple strikeouts or whatever can really affect it. The longer it goes, it minimizes the effect. But you win 3 games this early in conference or lose 3 games, you can see what it'll do.
Yep. So that is a look at where everybody stands right this second. Now, let's take a look at rewinding the past week. All right. We won't go through every single game. We say that every time, and then we talk about a couple. But what we are going to do is talk about one, just how bad Tuesday was overall in this conference. We'll also talk about Wednesday, which we can jump over to just real quick. We did win all 3 games Wednesday, which was nice because Marv, we won like 2 games on Tuesday.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
Oh, we won 3 games. I'm sorry. The Cajuns, Texas State, and Coastal all won games. Excuse me, on Tuesday. Every single other team lost.
Yeah.
What a rough life. All right. So let's talk about first the best win. I think this one's going to be relatively easy. Again, the Wednesday games, ODU beats Richmond, Texas State beats Florida A&M, Georgia Southern beats College of Charleston. Maybe won an outside chance of best win.
Yep.
But Texas State took out UT RGV. Cajuns took out Southeast Louisiana. Coastal takes down a previously ranked, but now not currently ranked, Clemson team 11-9 in comeback fashion. I'd have to say that's probably my pick, but you got Texas State up there with a pretty.
Yeah, there's 2. If Clemson had been ranked, which they were 7th, like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they've really fallen out.
They have fallen off big time. Yeah, that's if they had a ranking beside it, that would make it very easy. But University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, whatever that long.
Yep. You got it.
That's a good baseball team as well. But Texas State super hot right now, and so is Coastal. So I would say that's a tie.
Tie? Okay, I'm going to go with Coastal for the fact that they had to fight back. They were down. And for those of you who haven't seen it, you can check out this thing. It was kind of going around baseball Twitter. It was a pop-up, should have been fielded really easily by the first baseman. Ump kind of, or I guess, is he called an ump? What is the guy at first base called?
He's an umpire. Typically, it's called the field umpire.
Okay, so the field umpire, I guess, I'm not really quite sure. Maybe you can explain this, what the scenario should be for someone in this situation. It's popped up. He obviously doesn't know where it is as the not the player, the ump at this point I'm talking about. And he just kind of backs up, but he doesn't really get himself out of the way quickly so that this guy, the first baseman, can really make a play no matter where the ball goes. He's just like, he's coming towards me, so I slowly back up. Well, it turns out this guy's like the last-ditch effort to try and make the catch, trying to get it in the lights because they're playing a night game. Like he loses it a little bit, and his last-ditch effort actually collides with the ump as he's trying to make the play. It drops. I think Coastal scored 2 runs on that mishap specifically. Certainly what, could have or should have been an out, and maybe I can't remember exactly if it would have ended the inning at that point or not. But those are some runs that Coastal got and helped them get back into this game. That wasn't, if I can remember correctly, it wasn't what won them the game.
Yeah.
But that helped them get back into the game, either being down a couple runs, I think, at that point when that happened. So interesting. I don't know. I mean, like as a coach, you're obviously yelling and upset if something like that happens. What are they supposed to do in that scenario?
If he knows where the ball is, obviously he's supposed to move away from the ball or any action that a player would take to go to the ball. If he's on the line and he can't see it, his job should be to get into foul territory so that it doesn't affect a play like that.
I would have to say he failed then.
Yeah, that's I didn't see the play, but I'm going to go back and see it now because that ain't good. That ain't
no. It was. I thought I don't really know how to describe it other than how I did. So I don't think he got into foul territory at all. If he did, he barely did. And it just wasn't enough room. But this guy could not sit there and make the play. So Ed's saying you have to note that while the loss to Mississippi State was awful, Mississippi State then went on to sweep Ole Miss. Yeah, I mean, this is a Mississippi State team when they played Southern Miss that was ranked number 6. It's an awful outcome because they got beat 12-0. Yeah. And Auburn's, spanked South Alabama 10-0.
Mississippi State's now the number 4 team in the country.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna pick that one, but it is ugly when you see 12-0. But Southern Miss had already beat them, so you're like, okay, like it's hard to beat the same team twice. Um, as we said, you get all the wins luckily on Wednesday to kind of make up for this. But let's go back to Tuesday. What game is sticking out to you personally as like the worst loss here?
Oh gosh,
If you want me to start, I'll start.
I mean, Troy losing to Sanford, that stinks. Like we know Troy's having a down year, but you would never expect to see that.
Yeah. I mean, I really think there's no real wrong answers with a couple of these. Again, we got two teams that got blanked, but they got blanked by highly ranked teams on the road, both of them as well. Okay. So that's not like they're hosting these games when that
Yeah,
happens.
West Virginia's now the 13th ranked team in the country.
Yeah, honestly, that one wasn't even on the list. Marshall only losing 3-0 to a team that's ranked so high. The disappointing part is Marshall's hosting that game. You want them to
Yeah.
to
Hey, that's a
play little
competitive
better.
game though.
It was.
That's
It
kind
was.
of also the reason I was like, man, Marshall could take one, right? Like you're battling a ranked team very similar to the team that you're about to go play.
Yeah.
In a series, you would think they could take one.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're asking me from what I expect from some teams and then what the outcome was, the worst loss to me is ULM.
Yeah, that's a
You
very close second.
blanked at home versus Northwestern State, which is also an in-state team for you. So you get beat in-state, you get blanked, and you do it at home after you've shown in this first series of the year that you were pretty good, right? Like, hey, we're coming up, gonna get hot, and then they come in and they do what they did to the Cajuns this weekend. So now you're looking back, going, man, that loss was bad, So
that's why these midweek games are so tricky, right? Like,
yeah,
you're not throwing your weekend guys. You have no clue what their bullpen looked like coming out. Midweeks are tricky, but midweeks are a way that teams in this conference gain RPI. It's also a way that you can lose RPI very quickly.
Yeah, very, very true. So good on the teams getting on the right side of things on Wednesday because Tuesday scores were just hideous overall. Congrats to the teams that won it. We're not going to go over every score from the series this weekend either, but here are the outcomes. We talked about them a little bit. Coastal getting the sweep, Texas State getting the sweep. But again, Marshall competitive in a lot of those games against Coastal. Texas State not so competitive with Georgia State. They took care of business pretty well all weekend. I think they had one close game, but that Sunday game 12-3. I guess I'll ask you the same question here, Marv. Is there a series that sticks out to you as like the most impressive, and then like on the converse side, like least impressive? It's kind of hard because we don't quite have out of conference, so you're kind of trying to put that spectrum on all of our teams at the same time. But
least impressive is super easy for me. It's Troy losing the series to Georgia Southern. We've already talked about that.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there are a couple really impressive series in here, like Coastal sweeping what I think is a good Marshall team that impressed me. Texas State, they won 7 games in a row, but did I expect them to win the series against Georgia State? Yes. But ULM taking 2 out of 3 from Cajuns, who I thought had the ship pointed in the right direction. If I had to narrow one down, that's the one I would pick.
I'm right with you. And my pick for the week was exactly why. I thought this would be a sweep the other way around. And I put a little too much weight into the midweek that they had lost 5-0 at home and said, you're about to go on the road to a team that always wants to try and beat you because they don't want to hear it from, the fans in state, from the fan base, the other players. Like, so yeah, I thought the Cajuns hosting this would come out in their favor. They do get the victory on Sunday 4-0. But yeah, that one's the most impressive one to me. And Warhawk fans were in the mentions, right? Like they were letting us have it. Like, can't believe you picked against them, blah, blah, blah. You don't know what you're doing. I'm like, well, the Cajuns won their midweek. ULM lost it. And, but again, like you said, that's why some of these things are a little tricky. So I don't know. I guess that was the best one for me, I guess, was like ULM and the Cajuns. And
guess you
I
could flip
guess
it.
I'll agree with you. It's got to be.
You can kind of
Gotta
flip it around and say that might be the most shocking one too. But I think
Yeah.
the Troy Georgia Southern one had, once again, it takes the cake for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think in a boring way, we agree on the two series that we just picked, which is fine. I don't think there's any problem with that. But we will jump into this week's slate. It's both light and heavy. Okay, it's heavy on Tuesday specifically because we have a short week with a long weekend. If that makes any sense. So almost everyone goes on Tuesday. There are no games Wednesday at all. Conference play starts Thursday, continues Friday, Saturday. Because of Easter Sunday, there are no games Sunday. So we are looking at just this slate on Tuesday here. And we've got some decent ones, right? ODU at Virginia.
Yep.
Interesting. And I think I missed putting some of the rankings on. I meant to go back and do that.
Virginia and Georgia are definitely ranked.
Both ranked.
Texas State going to Texas. I said it in a podcast a couple of weeks ago. UCLA is the number one team in the country. I think Texas wins the national championship. I just think they're the most complete team in the country. So it will be interesting to see how Texas State competes against them. Arkansas State, Memphis is a big one, and ULM, La Tech. I think that's a big game as well.
Yeah, and for those that aren't familiar, we talked about it a little bit last year. Ohio at Marshall. This is an old school rivalry. I think there's a trophy on the line between these two teams in baseball, this matchup. So that one, the Battle of the Greens, green of Ohio, green of Marshall. So that could be a little bit fun. Do Cajuns go on the road to take on McNeese? That's an interesting one with kind of the come up, I feel like, of McNeese here. I have to say this too. Putting this together, Georgia Southern travels on the road, and that logo there is North Florida. That is one of the worst logos.
That is a very 1950s cartoon looking logo there.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I was going to say it's like a Sesame Street looking logo. Nothing about that says college. Nothing about that tells me where they're at or what they are. I mean, it's just some kind of nondescript bird to me, it's just – I don't know. I don't like it. It's a terrible logo. But yeah, I don't know. Is there any other? I guess there's not a whole lot of other ones that stand out big in this specific day.
Did the Citadel beat Coastal earlier this year? Am I mistaken about that? Or was it College of Charleston?
It was College of Charleston that beat.
Okay.
It.
All right. Okay. So no, I mean, obviously, if you're rooting for a school, every game is a big game, but those are the ones that stick out to me for sure.
Yeah. Ed said we have USM at 11, should be number 8.
He's correct.
On D1 baseball, is that where they're at?
It came out today, probably after you made the graphics.
Oh, because I tried to redo it, and I'm still getting it to be 11 on my screen right now.
Huh? No, I'm on the website right now. UCLA 1, Texas 2, Georgia Tech 3. North Carolina jumped from 13th to 6th this week, and then Southern Miss at number 8. Coastal
okay, so
at number
I
4.
have. It doesn't tell me the date on this one, so I have last week's.
Yeah, it was updated yesterday, actually, March 29th.
That's correct. So they are 8. My apologies. I did not realize I had the old page. So that will be fixed and corrected before this weekend stuff. Oh, look who's joining the stream. I know a guy that nailed the ULL series, as he puts it. Maroon and gold enjoyer coming to gloat a little bit.
Hey, you get to pick again this week.
Yeah, if he wants it, it's his. Otherwise, we'll try and move through this list. We had a lot of people reach out and say they want to be a part of it. So he can move on. He could take, I don't know how you beat this week. You could have a week like Marv did last week, which was 5 victories. That is I think that's the all-time mark. I don't think we've had anybody.
That has to be a record, and that might not ever be duplicated.
Yeah, I don't know. It will be tough. It will definitely be tough to beat that mark right there. And we were talking before we went live here, what the series of the week would be. So let's take a look at that now. All right. So as we said, there's not necessarily one that's big time obvious going to take that series of the week moniker. But Marv, you were already kind of looking at it and trying to say you think it's this one. So let's hear your thoughts on which one should be or could be kind of the series of the week for you.
South Alabama at Coastal. That's the one that jumps off the page. Um, you know, early in the season, you don't want to say it's make or break, but like if South Alabama gets swept in this series, it's going to be a little difficult for them to come back if they want to keep pace. Then I think they've got to go they've got to go at least get a game. They win the series, and they got to be feeling pretty darn good about themselves.
Yeah, I don't think I'd. Yeah, just a lot of these are not like the regional matchups. I guess the only kind of like a regional one that kind of sticks out is Marshall App, but those aren't like the historic baseball programs or teams right now.
Yep.
So for like old school people from both of those schools, maybe that one sticks out. But I like USM ODU, like that doesn't really have any history to it to me. I mean,
No, it
I'm sure
doesn't.
there's some somewhere, but Cajuns JMU, that's not really hitting as like a hard hitting matchup.
It's a big matchup for someone to get out of the. James Madison actually has a better conference record than Louisiana right now. Hard to believe, right? But listen, if you want to talk about what's good for the conference, RPI, whatnot, Southern Miss has an opportunity at Old Dominion to sweep the series and move up further. You've got Coastal and Southern Miss. We already talked about that. Texas State is hosting who we thought going into last weekend was the worst team in the conference. Can they keep that hot streak going? Once again, they're playing Texas this week. Good God, can you imagine Texas State if they beat Texas and then sweep Georgia Southern? They're sitting there saying like, "Hey, you want to put a number beside our name really quick?" Because they'd be 23-8 on an 11-game win streak at that point. ULM, right? Can you duplicate what you just did at hosting Georgia State, who is 2-7 in conference? I mean, they could take a massive step forward. They're tied for second in the conference. So there are some series in here that can really help teams separate themselves or solidify themselves. There's some series here where if you lose or you get swept, that you have pretty much buried yourself and you are fighting just to be represented in the conference tournament.
Yeah. That might be the best description, because like this could be separation week.
It could be like marquee matchups. They don't exist. You don't have Coastal Southern Miss. You don't have anything like that. But this could be a real make it or break it weekend for some teams. It's either like, hey, we didn't get off to the start that we thought we were, but we're starting to fight back now. Or it could be, hey, we get off to a hot start. Now we're coming back to reality. And for some teams, it could be, we are exactly who we look like, and we're just better than people thought, or not as good as people thought. This is like separation weekend, which it should be, because it's kind of, starting to get to the middle-ish of the conference series. So this should be about the time where teams either say, hey, we're legit, and some other people just kind of falls to the wayside.
Yeah. And I think that going back to that Marshall App State series is going to be a good one for that, right? Like App State has been competitive against some good teams. They've started out with a really tough stretch, right? Coastal and Southern Miss back-to-back weekends. Marshall is close to that, right? I mean, just played a really good Coastal team, but again, still fairly competitive across the board. Like, let's see who stands out now when these two teams that are kind of sitting close to each other play each other instead of playing a team that's up above. They're
both 13-13 overall. Marshall's 5-4 in conference. App is 3-6. So, if App wins the series, then they essentially would leapfrog Marshall. Marshall wins the series, they're right back up at the top, and App sitting there saying, "Holy shit, can we make it to the conference tournament?"
Right. Yeah. So it's vastly important, and unfortunately, and I think we just have to be honest with ourselves and everybody else. This is a weekend where a lot of people probably aren't going to be watching quite as much, right? I mean, there's got a lot going on. You got family coming to visit, or you're going to visit other family members, and it's just not going to be the first thing on a lot of people's minds. But at least be scoreboard watching, at least be checking those phones, because these are the games right now that are going to, like you said, Marv, really flip switches or flip spots. It's going to get really interesting, really, really
Yeah.
Man, that was a good one. That was a fun one, man. It sometimes you feel like, hey, today, perfect example. I'm like, what am I gonna call this week's show? Right? Like,
Yeah.
no, what's really sticking out? Well, Coastal. They're still sitting there undefeated.
They are.
Some of these things just start coming to you rather easily. Same thing with this. Like, what are we looking at this weekend? Like, what's kind of the standout? And like,
I went through that too. I was sitting there looking at it. I was like, once again, no marquee matchups. When you really start to look at each individual matchup, like there's a lot at stake for at least one team in every series. Who's gonna separate themselves and who's gonna just dig a hole that they might not be able to get out of?
yeah, absolutely. I think we're gonna find out, right? We're gonna find out pretty short order. Hopefully, we can get on the right side. If we have a Tuesday as bad as last Tuesday, we're in big trouble. We need a big Tuesday to kind of make up for that lackluster, and that's putting it nicely, performance across the board there.
Unfortunately, some of our bottom teams are playing some really darn good teams on Tuesday. So,
True.
conference-wise, like if we're 500 on Tuesday, I'd be shocked.
And I'll take that. Honestly, I would have taken 500 last week, right? Like that would have been a half decent outcome. Obviously, you want even better, but you have to be a realist. And it is what it is. But hopefully, because of the short week, kind of take advantage of that and get some of these teams rolling into the, better, hotter play.
It's still super cool, and we can discuss once again, how does Southern Miss move up 3 spots and Coastal only move up 1? But when you look at the top 25 to see 2 of our teams in the top 15, 1 in the top 10, we've had another team ranked this year. Really cool to see. I'd love to see us get another team ranked here in the next couple of weeks. If Southern Miss hell, we could have 2 teams in the top 10 in a couple of weeks if Southern Miss and Coastal keep rolling.
That would be pretty sweet. And we know that those 2 teams do not meet each other in the regular season. So if you got 2 top 10 ranked teams and they somehow meet for the Sun Belt Championship, man, that's going to be one of the best conference championships that will exist in college baseball. I don't care. You could be talking about SEC and ACC because there's a possibility that a team that didn't play all that well gets hot and ends up in the championship game. And we might have the highest ranked matchup in all of college baseball for our conference championship. That would be pretty sweet. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the possibility.
And also, I know, I know there's no divisions in baseball, right? Like they do in football. It's kind of randomized, but man, let's say 2 weeks from now, they both are top 10 teams. How big of an opportunity did the Sun Belt Conference miss not having those guys have a series? Because that would be really good. That would be really good baseball.
True. And I still have to wonder in the back of my head, are they doing that on purpose, right?
To protect an RPI. Yeah,
exactly.
Who was it that said scared money don't make money? Sometimes you got to put, like, honestly, if you have 2 top 10 teams that go at it, and outside of a sweep, if someone wins the series 2-1 and it's a competitive series, nobody lost anything.
Nope.
We all won. We got to watch it.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very true. Speaking of postseason berths, we have a writer on syndicatesports.io that we've linked all over our socials that has done a bracketology for College World Series so far. And at this point, he has 4 teams from the Sun Belt in. Could we get a 5th?
I haven't seen it. Can I try to guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would have Coastal and Southern Miss hosting regionals.
I don't know if he had either team hosting. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're both in. He has both of them in, obviously. That's duh.
Texas State.
Texas State is in. Yep. And there's one more team.
Toss up. Arkansas State.
He does not have Arkansas State in the field. I think you say ULM?
No, South Alabama. He has ULM?
No. He does neither one of those. He actually has the Cajuns in. Yeah, I know.
It's bold at the moment, but
it's bold at the moment, right?
The Cajuns could easily turn around. But man, how important is their series at James Madison? Like,
yep.
Whew,
and you saw, if you're thinking A-State has a chance and they're a good competitive team, that means James Madison is not a walkover. It's not a pushover. You are going to have to battle to win it.
And Arkansas State is on the road at Troy, and even though Troy's not having a season everyone expected, like, it ain't an easy place to go and win a series.
Nope. Not at all. So those are the questions. That's what we're going to have fun with this week and this weekend. I hope everyone enjoys their Easter holiday. Marv, you traveling anywhere for Easter?
No, we are here. We have family coming to see us.
Nice. We are traveling up to Pennsylvania. Got to see my sister and her baby. I haven't seen him yet, little boy. So excited to do that. If you are traveling, be safe because we want to see you back here on stream. It's very important that you're here with us, watching, paying attention, commenting. But seriously, have a good Easter holiday. Stay safe. Enjoy the holidays with family and friends. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you.
Sunbelt Syndicate.